Welcome to the Casual Shooters Podcast, your premier podcast for the casual shooter. And I'm your host, David Riddle. My guest this week is a return guest from 15 months ago. So if you want to go back and listen to his episodes, he was season 3, episodes 61 and 65. 62, 63, and 64 were CO Nationals 2024. So he kind of bookended CO Nats before and after. Now, he is also the host of the Practical Shooting Live podcast. If you would join me in welcoming to the show, Mr. Joel Park. How you doing, Joel?
Kind, good. Appreciate the intro. I thought I asked you to hold the applause till the end, but I guess this was okay.
We'll hold questions till the end from the audience.
No, you're good. Just no flash photography, please.
There you go. You got to turn, make sure you get the right sides.
I don't have a good side.
Nor do I. Okay. So when I had you on before, I just mentioned before we started, you got the typical 5 questions I gave to everybody.
Yeah.
But I've got new questions, so I only have one guinea pig so far. So you're going to be guinea pig number 2 to see if they stick around or if I go back to the original ones or find new ones.
All right. Hit me.
All right, here we go. Now you're going to have to put yourself. Well, it'll be interesting from your point of view. Maybe you have a different point of view. If you could learn one shooting skill instantly, what would it be and why?
It'd be a toss-up between grip and vision, if those are applicable. I'll say grip.
Interesting.
So the ability to hold I'll elaborate. The ability to hold the pistol with, it doesn't even have to be the perfect, but the exact same tension from first shot to last shot, and being able to shoot the gun straight without pushing into it.
Okay. Interesting. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Probably the speed. I don't know. It wouldn't be like the speed component, I suppose. Like Superman, where you can go super fast, so fast that you can't see it with your like naked eye. That'd be pretty fly.
So for a white guy?
Yeah, pretty fly for a white guy. Exactly.
Well, here's what I had come up with. When I created these questions, I'm like, what would be mine? And I was like, well, mine would be shooting accurately at whatever speed I wanted to move at. And then my superpower would be like the Flash.
That makes sense.
So now I can move like the Flash and still be accurate. But I don't know if I would have but then you threw something, you threw a widget in there. You threw vision in there. I'm like, oh, I didn't even consider that aspect of it. So
it's very important. As hard as I try, every once in
yeah.
a while, I'll still slip up and I'll get really angry at myself, but I'll stare at the sight just a little bit or not a specific spot on the target I want to hit. So, and then the other toss up for superpower, being able to fly would be pretty cool too.
That I think is going to be number 1 because that was my first thought too, is like fly, got to be able to fly.
As long as I could carry as much stuff as I want to, then I would just, like have this rickshaw or something I would attach to myself, and I could just skip commercial airlines.
And you look like a turtle.
Exactly. Just load up all my garbage and just fly it to wherever the next dirt pit is that I'm going to shoot at. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be. What is a food you will never get tired of?
Pizza.
Ooh, pizza. Yeah, okay. What kind of pizza now?
I'm not even that picky. Like the all meat, like meat lovers pizzas are good. Combination pizza is fine. Sometimes people end up with weird combinations of stuff they like. That's fine too, just to try it, like the taco pizza kind of stuff or whatever else. So I'm down to try any kind of pizza. It's a win.
I absolutely love taco pizza. We used to do pizza Friday nights, and we would make them here when our kids were growing up and they were kids and not adults. We would do taco night on Fridays, and I always did a taco, but everybody made their own little specialty taco or pizza. I'm sorry, not taco, pizza. So it was pretty neat. So you don't have like a go-to, like if you're like, I'm hankering for this kind of pizza.
Nah, probably some kind of like the meat lovers, just whatever combination, all meat pizza, carnivore. A lot of places will call it. That'd probably be my go-to.
Thin or thick crust?
Doesn't matter. Either one, honestly. I'm not particular.
Wow, you are not.
Nah, any of it's fine. I'd probably go more towards thin than thick, just because sometimes it's really, really doughy. It's just
right.
It's not like I'm exactly avoiding carbs, but I suppose maybe it's slightly better for you. I don't know.
So more like a New York style thinner crust pizza. Okay.
That'd be fine. I'm not picky.
If you could have dinner with one person other than your spouse or significant other throughout history, who would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. This is tough. Probably, I don't know. George Washington might be interesting to sit down with.
Okay. What would you want to have the conversation about?
I'd be curious about the demeanor and intent for the country, and if what they had in mind
Yes.
is what happened. I mean, because you have to think. I mean, like maybe George Washington would text his homeboys on the like the horse ride home from work, wanting the boys to get on a game. I mean, you don't know. I mean, equivalent, of course.
Right.
Or maybe he was like, video games are rubbish. Everything was very structured. Maybe what his idea of what the country should be was different from what we think he thought it should be. I don't know. That might be kind of a fun conversation to have, because things get lost in translation, as you know.
And he got strong armed into being the president.
There you go.
So
That's another reason I like that.
yeah. So it'd be, yeah, I mean, that's a great one because you always wonder, like what the Supreme Court is saying now, you've got to look back at the history and tradition of the laws in the Constitution at the time to see what they meant. So that'd be an interesting conversation too. Like, hey, this is what we're doing now. How would that fly back here?
How about right to bear arms? Maybe George Washington was
Yeah.
like, nah, that was just to melt any of the thugs who were trying to break into your place. Or maybe it was like, no, this is to keep the government in check. I mean, we don't know. Because, I mean, obviously some of the stuff gets lost in translation. Words change, the demeanor, whatever, but it'd still be interesting just to know what he had in mind.
Mr. Washington, how cold was it on that Delaware River?
There you go.
Because it looked freaking chilly.
And what if he was like, bruh, it actually was not that cold at all. Compared to what I'd been through, it was only, 30 degrees. It wasn't that big of a deal. That was greatly exaggerated. Or what if he said, if you spit, it was ice before it hits the ground? I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Then it'd be like, well, I'm not doing that without my Gore-Tex.
Right.
we have it so easy.
People are so soft. Like, what was your cell phone reception like out there?
Right.
Did you have Wi-Fi?
The tower was so far away, I only had one bar.
Right. I was like, oh, my phone went to SOS, and we were in between volleys in this war. The nerve. I couldn't upload to TikTok.
All right. Final question.
Yeah.
If money were no object, what would you be doing right now?
Shooting guns in dirt pits.
Would you still be teaching or just be shooting all day yourself?
I'd probably still teach.
Okay.
I know this sounds very boring. I was having a conversation with Steger one day. He's like, hey, if you're good at, what the Joker says, if you're good at something, right? It's like, never do it for free.
Oh, okay.
No, it's fun. Meeting a wide variety of people. So like just this week in general, working with government people a couple days, working with just open enrollment, just enthusiasts a couple days. It's a wide variety of people. So that's super fun.
All right. So that begs the question.
Yeah.
You've trained people who have been sent to you that didn't pay their way to your class.
Sure.
Someone else paid their way for them.
Mm-hmm.
Have you come across those individuals where you're like, maybe you don't say it out loud because I didn't, but you're like, your attitude sucks and why are you even here?
Not really.
No.
So I've done some, normally it's a lot of train the trainer stuff, and not trying to be arrogant. If I do military training, it's normally special forces on up. So it's people that like their job and want to be there. It would be a little bit different from a regular, I don't know the term, but like a ground pounder recruit that maybe would be a little bit disgruntled or not as excited about their job. So most of the people I come in contact with from the military government like their job, or if it's a train the trainer, they're a trainer for their department or agency or whatever because they like shooting guns also. And so no, every once in a while I'll come across somebody that's like they're just there because they have to be, but I don't see that
Mm-hmm.
many people like that. Most people enjoy
Well, that's
it.
good. Well, that's good. I had a SWAT team guy from a city in Texas one time, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, you have one of the worst attitudes. Like anything that didn't go right, like let's just say he had a miss at 500 yards. There was some other issue. There's no way the fault could be put onto him, and the sad part is that department reached out to me and said, we have two people, him and a female, coming through. We would like an evaluation at the end of the class. Now they weren't, that wasn't from the students. The students didn't know I was evaluating them. So at the end, when I sent my evaluation back, I did not recommend him stay on the team because he had a piss poor attitude. But I said her attitude was fantastic. If she gets just a little bit stronger physically, she's good to go. But yeah, I've had that one time where it's just like, man, why are you? I think part of it was he was just so insecure about himself that,
That happens.
he was just like, oh, he was so defensive. And it's like, dude, what? I don't know. Maybe he didn't want the female to outperform him, and she did.
Sure. There's a
I
lot
don't
of
know.
egos. It'd be, I mean, I'm not a gym goer, but people in the gym don't really want to be told how they're lifting weights wrong or how they should be lifting more or whatever. So
Right.
there's a lot
Their
of,
form is never wrong.
right, 100%.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, normally people that have that kind of demeanor talk themselves out of a job from the stuff I've seen. But of course, it could happen anywhere. But luckily, most of the people I interact with are excited and they want to practice. Maybe they're not as good as they want to be, but at least they want to be there and they want to shoot. Maybe it gets a little bit hot and they're ready to call it a day. But I mean, I could be right there with them too. So
Yeah. And I mean, who is as good as they want to be other than Eric Graffel? I mean, he's the only
yeah,
guy who's as good as he wants to be.
bet you money. If you could ask Eric if he could be better, he would
He's
take
not
it.
happy. Yeah,
Nah,
exactly. Yeah. But I mean, other than he's the only guy I can think of who's undefeated for so many years at
sure.
the World Shoot. He's the only guy that's like, okay, well, I've done it all. All right. So I do have a couple of follow up questions from last year's episode.
Yeah.
We talked about Christian versus Eric last year at the CO Nats.
Yeah.
How disappointed were you when you learned of Christian's optic failure on day one?
I mean, I hated it for him. So a little bit of transparency. Christian's a friend. He actually called me leaving the range. Day one. No, day one was when he thought he had issues. I think day two was when when he determined for sure the optic failed. He called me when he was just getting to his car, just to chit chat, obviously about things. So no, I mean I feel awful for him, and regardless of their top talent or B class, you don't want anybody to have equipment failures anyway because that's outside their control. People train hard enough to be there, whether you're top talent going to win the thing or maybe you're just D class or C class, you still want to do the best you can. So having your gear let you down when you're trying to do your best to be prepared is super disappointing.
Agree. And it was odd that basically the same thing happened to Morgan Leonhardt too. Like the glass and her optic just fell out
There's
right at the beginning of a stage and just zeroed the stage.
a friend of mine, his name's Max. He probably wouldn't been on a lot of people's radar, but he posted a picture from or a story of the world shoot that he had his SRO let him down or crapped out or something. So he was having dot issues also, which is super disappointing. Again, he's very talented at shooting, but even if he wasn't, you don't want to see people travel across the world to get there with something that's not holding zero or jams, or it turns out the extractor's trash and it's not feeding or whatever.
Right. And there's no way to predict that ahead of time.
No,
So.
I mean, even like guys like Christian or like my friend Max have for sure more than one gun. and you pick a gun that you think is the best gun or the gun you want to use for a match, but still, it's just machines made by people, so anything can happen.
Exactly. Everything fails.
Yeah.
Okay. When we were talking last year, also, I brought up Ace VR.
Yeah.
And then I was listening to, oh, wait, was it? No, you did mention, yeah, it was in that one. You said it was like all the targets were on the same plane. So like shoulder to shoulder.
Mhm.
And what I wanted to ask you was I agree. Do you feel the same way about, so like for me, I dry fire in my garage and all my targets are on the back wall.
Mhm.
Like I don't have room to set targets at different distances, so I use different size,
Mhm.
and then I have my garage marked out. So I use 1/3 size. So if I go back 5 feet from the wall, I'm at 5 yards. If I go 10 feet back, I'm at 10 yards. Do you feel they are the same in dry fire and Ace VR in that regard, or do you think it's different?
It's the same issue. So even for your dry fire
Okay.
area, if you could possibly put a target on a like a 1x2 and make its own stance, something to do focal depth changes, it's quite
Mhm.
valuable for your eyes compared to, well, it just so happens I have a gun next to me. But if I'm just moving it from left to right, that's not really the same thing as if you have to have your eyes adjust from something sharpened and focused that's close and then moving to a target farther back, finding not only the middle of it, but having it sharpened and focused where you could see the outline or the perforation of the target or pasters or, hardcover or whatever. That's way different than just kind of moving your gun out there and shooting at brown or at a blob or a shape or a color.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
HVR is fun. I mean, it's like playing. I don't know if you're into it. Probably not. Time Crisis, or there's a number of light gun games in the arcades that are fun. But to me, it's kind of the same training value. There's no substitute for dry fire with your actual pistol in your actual holster, and then loading magazines with dummy rounds. So it has the same weight of what a loaded magazine would feel, with the safety component that if you do get one in the chamber, there's not an issue of an accident happening. But I'm convinced that's the best route for dry fire. The other stuff is a fun supplement because if Ace VR gets you off your couch to do some training and move around and think and work on remembering stage plans or a complicated sequence, and that's a win anyway. I just don't think it's as effective.
Okay. I don't disagree. I don't necessarily disagree. But I at the same time, yeah, I mean, it's like I do find the YouTube. I can't remember the dry fire stuff
Yeah,
on
I watched the
YouTube.
Dry Fire King, maybe.
Yeah, that's what it is. Where they have the swinging
Yep,
targets, because I don't have those at home. I'll slap that
me
up
too.
on occasion
I've
to
done that
kind of,
also.
yeah.
Or on a YouTube, you could watch one of their stages, and then I would sometimes pause it because I would say the YouTube video is 10 minutes long, and it goes between each scenario. So if you get a target array you like, you could just pause it and then rep that out as many times as you want. Go to the next screen and then pause the video there. If you're watching it on your TV or whatever. But again, there's not focal depth change. I just did it because it was something kind of different that I hadn't seen before. Just variety.
Okay.
But just the act of practicing is good anyway, with whatever gets you excited about practice. It could be a soft air gun, it could be the Ace VR thing, it could be your actual pistol, you know.
Whatever works,
Yeah,
right?
whatever gets you
Gets you
motivated.
up. I've been, I can also remember, I didn't have this written down, where we talked about people getting too deep in the weeds about certain stuff. And you were like, do they really need to know all that?
Mhm.
But, but I've kind of gotten into that with something in particular. And I'm like, after having talked to another guest about rimfire stuff, and I know the old rimfire stuff you can't dry fire because it'll ding up the
Uh,
breech face
yeah,
of the
the corner
gun.
of the chamber, I believe.
Yeah. And then I started wondering. So I started doing some Googling. I'm like, when you're dry firing, that striker's going forward and striking something because there's nothing there to stop the striker.
Hmm.
There's no primer.
Yep.
And when I Google, it's like, yeah, it can damage the end of the striker chamber. And
Uh-huh.
I was just curious, I've not heard of anybody having to repair or replace anything in a striker fired gun due to dry fire. Have you?
I've broken a striker before. Well, I had like the firing pin tip of the striker break off on a gun. It was one of the first PDPs, and I bought it used, so it's tough to tell how much ammo it had, and it could have
Mm,
been a fluke anyway. It was just my first one I got to try. So, and then I've also seen Glocks that get dry fired so much that like the striker breaks. I've
okay.
seen that happen once in a while, but again, that's something that so like one of my dry fire guns, it would just live in a holster in my dry fire area with dummy magazines next to it, and it was getting dry fired for, let's say it's an hour a day or 45 minutes a day for days and weeks. So it's a human made machine, and if you do that enough to anything, something's going to break, regardless of how nice or fancy it is or how basic. So to me, guns anymore are very consumable. I like having more than one of the matching gun. Obviously, that's expensive and people work hard for their money. But if you're serious about practicing, having two guns that are as close as you can get them to being identical, and then picking a favorite gun that you just kind of leave pristine for matches, and then having a practice gun that you put the bulk of the practice ammo and dry fire on is just a good idea because, like I said, regardless of how high end or entry level it is, it's all going to break at some point.
Right. Yes, absolutely. But that brings up, I was watching you and Brantley when Brantley was talking
Oh yeah.
about his Glock setup.
Hmm.
And there was actually something in there because I shoot Canic, and right now I have the Rival S, the steel version.
Okay.
That's my primary gun.
Yeah.
And the polymer is my backup, but they changed, even though they look identical from the outside,
Okay.
there's just enough difference that you can't use them in the same holster.
That's annoying. Walther did the same thing with the steel frame and poly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can fit the poly in, and I had to at area 8, but I had to loosen the screws all the way up. So then there's a little bit of retention, but I had to be I almost left my forearm pinned against the grip
Hmm.
like 90% of the time just to make sure that,
Sure.
it wouldn't come out at all. But Brantley had a really neat attachment connected to his hanger that allowed him to just slide that holster off. Like, and then you could slide another holster
Oh.
in.
Safari Land makes those. So your audience that's military or law enforcement would be more familiar with those. But I think it's called
Okay.
QLS, I think. But it's yep, they're made like that. So you attach the piece to the holster, and it's just a couple little plastic teeth. You push that on the whole mount, and slides out. So I do those also for one of my rigs that I use for like LE training. Because then I could have a Safari Land with retention on it. It's like an ALS, a thumb brake to deactivate it, or an open top holster. Like I've got them for a PDP with a flashlight, just a regular one without the light. So it makes it easy to kind of mix and match them around.
Yeah, because I was like, if I go to the range and I'm like, let's say I just take all mechanics, then I'm looking at 4 different holsters.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I attach it to my belt, then everything else, one is going to come holstered and everything else is going low ready. And I'm like, but with that attachment, I'm like, hey, I could just literally swap out the holster in a matter of seconds
Mhm.
and then work any of the guns. It wouldn't matter.
Another one I really like. I wish I had them in my dry fire area, but Henning also Henning Walgren. It's his company is called Henning Group. One of his
Mm-hmm.
hangers is called the T1000, if you'd be familiar. But on that hanger, there's kind of a ladder that goes up and down where you can adjust how high your holster sits, and you remove 2 screws from the side of that, and it allows like the piece that's attached to your holster to slide up or down, but you could also remove it from the hanger. So it's also another good alternative if you use Henning's system. It's just 2 screws, and then you can buy, I think they call it a shuttle, but the piece that attaches to your holster, you'd buy just one of those. So then you'd loosen 2 Allen screws, slide the holster off that, where you'd end up with just kind of a Picatinny style rail. Then you just slide your new holster on that rail, insert the 2 screws. You could witness mark the height that you want with a Sharpie. That's an easy way to change them out, also.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. I will
Henning's
have to.
Henning's extremely nice as a person. I like him a lot. But his stuff, it's not cheap. It's a little bit more spendy for a hanger, but it's very nice.
Yeah, I've got a couple of his base pads
Okay.
on my mag, so
I use his
and
almost
they're nice.
exclusively. Yeah, they're very
Yeah,
good.
good stuff. So that brings me to something that I learned at Area 8
Oh boy.
shooting my Rival S and my Rival, and I wanted to run it by you. So day 1 at Area 8 I shot we did like Wednesday afternoon, Thursday morning, I think it was. Wednesday afternoon I shot my Rival S and I was having some function issues with it. Kept having a bunch of malfunctions. I was like, man, what's going on with my gun? So the next morning, I'm like, I'm going to switch to my polymer Rival because I'm just having too many malfunctions.
Okay.
So I switched to the Rival, and Russell Fortney's like asked a couple questions, make sure everything's good to go, swapped them out, no problem. Started shooting, and I realized now, even though it took me a little while to get used to the steel and the weight of it and the different feel of it, now I'm beginning to like the steel better because what I found was I'm one of those people who tends to grip hard and induce shake.
Mhm.
And with the steel, I found it shakes less. And I didn't know that until I started shooting the polymer the next day. And I'm like, man, I can't get the thing to stop shaking. And I'm like, oh, I'm gripping way too hard. I've got to find a medium here.
Sure. That's interesting.
Yeah, I had never realized that that it was more pronounced when I was in the Marines and everything was one-handed shooting. So everything was strong hand shooting only, at a bullseye. And then I knew because I would try to squeeze hard to and really strangle the 45 because of the recoil. But then I would start inducing shake and I'd have to back off and try to find. I never did find that sweet spot with the 45 and one-handed shooting. But I didn't realize I would do the exact same thing with using two hands and a polymer gun until I had that back-to-back moment. And I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, I used to subscribe to the gripping the gun as hard as you can thing. I've since changed my ways a little bit. So my firing hand still, I want to hold on to the gun firmly, just enough that when it's I'm not going to say you wouldn't pull it out of my hand, but it's enough that the gun's not going to move, but it's not as hard as I can hold the gun at all. Then with my support hand, I used to hold as hard as I could grip the gun. Now all I do is just hold it firmly enough to connect the pistol in a way that when the gun recoils, my hands don't move. So, for example, sorry for the audio listeners, but I wouldn't want the top of the trigger guard to disconnect from the top of my index finger, do something like that. Or sometimes when people shoot, find a right angle, like your support hand starts to slip kind of lower and lower and
Yep.
lower as you shoot more. So instead, I just worry about keeping both hands on the pistol connected where they don't slip off, but I don't grip as hard as I could possibly grip with either hand anymore.
Okay.
As a thought. But the polymer versus steel debate's always a fun one, and there's a lot of variety on that because, in my opinion, I think the steel gun's a bit more friendly to shoot at distance because
Mm-hmm.
of how well it settles on the targets. It's a little bit heavier,
Yes.
it's a little bit less felt recoil. But if I was going to do 10 to 12 yard and in shooting, I would probably prefer the polymer gun. I can draw it a little bit faster. Mag changes are a little bit easier just because you have metal on polymer. The gun's there's no weight really involved. So I look and the sight just shows up there. So I don't have to, there's really no physical amount of movement needed to push the gun around. Um, so I don't know. It's all preference. I can see arguments for both points.
Yeah, and I agree with you with especially the long shots because that second day were the longer shots. And that's where I was like, man, this thing is and it ended up making me look at the dot a lot more because I was like, man, why is this thing doing all
Sure.
this so much more than so when it wasn't shaking as much, I just focused on the target. When it was shaking, it seemed to really draw me into the dot. And I was like, yeah. Well, plus Okay. I didn't consider this either, but I'm one of those red green color guys where I have to look for the red, but the green is there. So with the green dot, I can look at the target and I don't have to worry about where the dot is because it's easy for me to see.
Okay.
But with the red dot, I have to at times find the dot because I don't necessarily see it as well as I do the green. So I
That
can
makes
see
sense.
the color fine. It's just not as prevalent to me.
Yeah, the green for sure stands out more. Well, Steger's guns have, sometimes I have to babysit some of his guns or repair them. And the green dot I've noticed is just easier for me to stare at. So I probably should
Mm.
get one at some point just to train with. Otherwise, all my guns just have red dots on them, and I that works fine for me. But like you said, the green stands out really well. Back in the day, I mainly shot for most of my competitive shooting career iron sighted guns, so production division. Back when that was the heat, that and limited, and so shooting iron sights, I strongly preferred the green fiber optic
Hmm.
because trying to be target focused and being aware that my front sight's there without staring at it, I found it much easier to see the green kind of while I was
Yes.
target focused. So I get what you're saying. It does make sense.
Now, the interesting thing is for me, it doesn't matter the brand so far of the red dot, but I don't get the double dot. I get a triple dot.
Okay.
That's what the red dot looks like to me in every red dot that I own.
Do you have an astigmatism or some kind of eye thing
N-
that's diagnosed?
Nope. Nope. And until I was in my 50s, I was 2010, 2012. Now I'm 2025 vision. So, not that I'm aware of it. Green dot, it's round, it's circular, and I can turn the brightness down. Whereas with the red, I have to turn the brightness up, which might be causing it to, it's not a bloom though. It's literally three dots
Mhm.
in a triangle shape. So it's like, where in the world? So I just
Yeah,
put the center of the three.
and sometimes I'll be like taking a picture of one of my looking through the red dot to feed the gram or for whatever reason. And when I look at the picture, it's a perfect dot. But when I look at them, normally there'll be some amount of kind of star shaped or tear shaped or
Yeah.
very rare, other than an EOTech reticle for a carbine, really nothing else is perfectly round. So
The
it's just,
EOTech is for you?
yeah, EOTech's perfect.
Hmm.
But I think that's
Interesting.
what holographic. So I think that technology is different from a regular LED,
Oh,
I believe.
right. Okay. Interesting. Hmm.
I don't know.
You've been flooding your YouTube with a lot of videos lately.
I have. I started that I think in January or February. My
So
good sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, it was my wife's idea, and well, and Steger was doing it too, and it made sense. So I posted a handful of videos and got a lot of comments and people asking for more videos or listener question, and then it kind of just spiraled into having a lot of listener questions. So then I just queue them up and drop. So still one video a day. I don't think I've missed a day since maybe January or February. So I'm dating this. We're in tail end of September. So just it'll be anything, a variety from things I like or dislike, kind of about the teaching mindset or teaching class or things I've observed, taking someone else's class as a student, gear review. People love gear reviews, but just so I'll kind of do a first impression if I get something. Then if I put 5 or 10,000 rounds on it, I'll talk about that. Or if I break something, or just I'll get a lot of listener questions for everything about how to practice or how to work on a specific skill or USPSA themed or just shooting themed. So just chip away at those. So then when I'm home, sometimes I'll sit down and do 4 or 5 videos just back to back. They're all just one take. What you see is what you get. So I'll keep a folder of them on my phone and I'll just kind of like, start like, all right, fire it up, read the question, talk through it, answer the people's questions, and then it gets uploaded.
So do you like upload them and schedule them at different intervals then to just appear?
I should actually schedule them. I've had a couple people ask me if I do that. I don't. I just, when I wake up in the morning, I'll just grab like whichever one I feel like that day, and then I'll just publish it. It'll just be an unpublished link, and then I'll just change it to public, and that's that.
Okay. I'm feeling like fried eggs today. We're doing gear review.
There you go. Nah, it depends. Sometimes I'll have, well, for example, sometimes I get stuff that's like prototypes, or I'll get a product with an email or something saying it's going to be released on this date, so don't talk about it yet. For example, there'll be another red dot released, whatever today is, Friday of this week. So like I've already got a video queued up to talk about that one, but I don't want to accidentally drop it or schedule to drop it ahead of time. So I'm not going to be home the day that that's released, but this way I'll have something on tap if I want to, so I could just do them in advance.
Okay, like in a situation like that, do they say don't talk about it until noon on Friday, or do they just say Friday?
Normally it'll be just a date, and then I'll wait, because normally the company will launch something on their own saying this product's available today, or announcing or launching or whatever. And then I'll wait until I see that before I post anything. But like the gun shooting gear industry is pretty small. A lot of the stuff gets leaked ahead of time anyway, where I'm not saying I'm the only one sent this. There's probably a group of, well, I hate being called one, but probably like their influencer or whatever group. And so let's say they go out to a dozen people, and somebody somewhere, I'm sure, sends a picture or shows somebody, and it gets leaked to the internet or whatever. But I try to be respectful. And then it's cool because those, like the companies I normally work with, are pretty open to feedback. So I'll just have a guy there that I'll text or normally interact with, that if I think something's a problem that maybe they have or haven't seen, or if I really like it, it's very flattering. They're usually pretty open to ask me what I think about it, or what I want to be different, or that kind of thing.
Now, it seems to me like let's take Red Dot,
Hmm.
for example. It seems to me like the perfect way to test that would be for you to take it to a couple of classes and use it yourself.
Hmm.
So it gets that normal day to day usage. But at the same time, it's like, well, if they don't want it talked about, then can you really take it there? Because then people are going to be like, hey, what is that on your gun?
Sure. Unless
And
you tell people to look for it, sometimes they wouldn't know, or I'll just use it in my own training.
okay. But I like, and Ben talked about this on one of his videos recently. He's like, he was talking about red dots and how long they last and
Yeah.
whether they break. He's like, look, I don't try to break these things. I'm not
Mhm.
trying to rack it on stuff and do things. That's why though that I'd rather listen to you guys or Brantley or somebody talk about gear and a gear review than some influencer who's doing one-off 75-yard shots and racking the slide
Mhm.
on the bed of his pickup and stuff. I'm like, dude, that's not realistic.
I
I
agree.
don't, I don't care about that crap. But if you guys are saying, we're getting good battery life, or it's, we shot in a downpour and we had no issues. I'm like, that's realistic. That's the kind of stuff I need to know.
No, I appreciate it. I'm the same way. I don't like I can't even think of which one it was. I probably wouldn't say it if I did, but there's like one channel where it's always kind of torture testing. And then I've
Mm-hmm.
seen it before, like, oh, this person tested, and this Vortex red dot withstood 74 hits with a hammer before it break, but the Trigicon took 75 hits with the hammer, so the Trigicon's better. It's like, dude, who hits with red dots with hammers anyway? Like all that stuff
I
is
know.
totally stupid. And it'll be like an 8-foot drop test. I dropped it on the optic. Like, when are you going to do that? Like maybe it falls out of your holster. That could happen, but I wouldn't
Sure.
expect the manufacturer to warranty that anyway. Some of them do, but if it's due to my neglect and I drop the gun out of the holster on concrete directly on the optic, and the lens falls out or it breaks, I suppose you could say it's not duty ready or whatever. But in the end, that was neglect on my part for not taking care of my equipment.
Absolutely. I agree.
Or like the pistol tests where, well, like Grand Thumb does stuff. I mean, sure, it's entertaining to watch, but they'll have this mud and they'll drop all the pistols in the mud, and like which one shoots the best after it's been covered in mud, which in reality it doesn't make any sense. No one really cares. It's just entertainment, kind of made for kids. Just an
I already
entertainment.
know the answer. It's going to be the one with the least amount of tolerances. I mean,
Of course.
the loosest fitting gun. It rattles like a paint can. That's the one
Yeah,
that's still going to shoot.
sure.
So it's
100%.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I can't
agree.
watch those. I can't watch those videos. I watched one where a guy was racking it on all different kinds of things, and I'm like, this is the most ludicrous thing I've ever watched. I'm like, I can't watch this anymore.
No,
Just
and
I
even
don't.
so if it's a competition gun or a gun you're going to possibly stake your life on, why wouldn't you just take care of it anyway? Why would you want to see how many
Yeah,
times you could abuse it before it let you down?
yeah,
Because no matter how good or nice the stuff is, I don't care where it's made. At some point, it's all going to fail. Whether it's super custom shop or it's a generic entry price point gun optic, whatever. At some point, it will all fail.
yep. I like the humble marksman too because his is more realistic stuff. Like he shoots stuff in USPSA or IDPA matches and gives you an idea of how it works and zeroing it and stuff. I'm like, all right, that's stuff everybody can use every day. But yeah, I don't know of
Yeah,
anybody that bangs on their guns or their freaking optics with a hammer, whether it's a rubber mallet or a ball peen hammer.
the same thing with dropping them. The drop test stuff, I think, is so dumb.
Yeah. I mean, I drop my magazines on padding. I don't even drop them on,
Sure.
concrete floor. Why would I want to do that to anything else?
Right. 100%. Right.
Uh,
Try to take care of, I mean, it sounds cheesy, but if you take care of your gear will take care of you, that kind of thing.
right. So, what are your thoughts on moving to a different platform? And what I mean is, you've probably had this conversation with Andreas. Like, he's a
Oh,
big proponent of moving to X, which
he's
I
just,
am too,
oh, okay. I thought we were talking about gun
like Twitter.
platforms.
Oh, no, 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 like Twitter.
Oh,
And instead of YouTube, Rumble.
well, I think you have to just go, you have to give the people what they want. And if the people aren't on that platform, I see a lot of people say that I'm never posting to, Zuckerberg stuff again. I'm going to this. And they go there and then they're back in a month because guess what? Their audience isn't there. YouTube, I mean, whether they're anti gun or pro gun or whatever, a lot of people are on that. I consume a ton of content on YouTube. So I'm just going to post where the people are. You have to meet people where they are, which is interesting because sometimes people want to kind of impose their beliefs or what platform they think is on other people. And if people don't like it, they just won't go there. They won't see your content.
That's true.
Like, let's say I did books and I say, I'm only going to do digital books from now on. I'm never doing another paper book. The people that do not do Kindles and they only do paper book are not going to change their habits. They've never bought an electronic book. All of a sudden, that's not going to change just for me. They're going to keep consuming material the way they want to. And if I don't cater to what they're looking for, they just won't buy it. In my opinion, it's that simple.
Well, no, that is true because I was talking to someone recently about it, and they came right out and said, "Well, that's what all these other companies have said in the past," and then they couldn't do it because the audience is
No
at
one's there.
YouTube, right?
Yeah, you go there and you have 100 followers or something. It's like wonderful. No one's looking at your material. Good for you.
Right. Now, have you? Now, you did when you said paper versus digital. Have you noticed a difference in book sales as to one over the other?
No, we don't normally even do digital. Once in a while, I think some of the ebooks, but it's normally just paper. Because I want people to put it in their range bag, not be dependent on electricity, and then to scribble on it, write on it with a marker. Maybe they take a picture of it to save it or send to their friend or whatever, tear the page out. So paper, I think, is just more friendly for note taking and making your own diagrams and tracking your progress and that kind of stuff.
I
For what we
was,
do anyway.
yeah, and I was saying I will do digital, but I buy digital books for entertainment.
Sure.
But if I buy something that I want to learn from, then I want the book because I like to highlight stuff
Sure.
and I can flip through real quick and look for highlights that I've made and
Hmm.
just stop at those points where you can't do that stuff with a digital book.
Yeah.
So I do differentiate. All right, now
Yeah.
I got another question from I'm trying to remember. This might have been one of your from this year. I don't think it was from our talk last year. And it's trigger manipulation at speed.
Hmm.
You said there should be no movement at all. And I am unable to. because I have tried, and this is where I get the over gripping from.
Mhm.
Like I will grip just to see if I can grip it tight enough so that nothing moves at all, and I
Sure.
can't do it. Um, so what when you say no movement at all, what would be on a 7-yard target?
Mhm.
What would be acceptable movement or wobble of the dot?
Well, I was doing that. It was a class demo a couple days ago. And at like 7 yards, 7 meters, whatever, the sight never really left the black paster. And if I did it
Okay.
wrong, maybe it would blip. I was just using a black paster, it would blip towards the end, or maybe it'd go off on the cardboard a little bit and then come back on the paster. That would be good. Depending on the platform, you may be able to do no movement, and it might not be possible. For example, if you have a DASA gun, like a Beretta 92, if you're trying to do that single action pull and it's a factory gun and it's 5 or 6 pounds, I'm not saying it's not possible, but it'll be a heavier lift trying to slap a 5 pound uh, trigger without disturbing the sights compared to a tuned 2011. Then it should be perfect. So the
Right.
expectations have to change based on the gears. I try to be careful with kind of the always and never stuff because it does vary. I interact with a lot of people that use duty style guns. So for example, a Glock with nothing, maybe a minus connector or something. But other than that, I mean nothing other than an optic. So it's all going to depend on the gear a little bit. But the goal would be just placing your focus in your firing hand where you're trying to like death grip it. What you'll see oftentimes for people pressing the trigger quickly and immediately, the thumb will start to move also.
Twitches. Yeah.
Yeah. So the goal
Yes.
is having that grip where you connect the pistol, but being able to press the trigger without having any other part of your hands flex or move. Or that's why some people like talk a little bit crazy here. The pinky pressure crap or the ring finger stuff, I don't like that because it's like you want me to
Okay.
grip hard with part of my hand. So I'm going to grip hard with this finger, but relax this finger and then relax this finger. But this one's going to be gripping hard. It's like it's too complicated. I'm losing interest just trying to explain it to you. So I'm pretty dumb. I just think if you relax your firing hand, hold the gun firmly enough that it doesn't move in your hand, that's what I want. Because then when I'm pressing the trigger, I could put all my conscious thought on just press the trigger without having any other part of my hand move or sympathetic movement. And that job's tough enough in itself without making it more complicated.
Right. Do you use the same grip pressure on strong hand only then?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. You could, I mean, maybe a tick more than that, but not a ton. For strong hand, I don't like gripping the gun as hard as I possibly can because, especially like I've had matches that I won or lost on the one hand shooting stage where it'd be people about
Mm,
my skill level that I'm shooting with, and it's
right.
maybe it's a little bit give or take, whatever. And on the one handed stuff, my thought has always just been, I'm not going to try to have a great idea here because this stuff is really tough. And still, I just place my focus on being able to press the trigger straight back without influencing it. And I feel like if I go for max clamp on my firing hand, or I try to push the gun back down to return it a little bit better, I'll end up pushing a shot somewhere I don't want it to go. So instead, I still think about relaxing my firing hand in a way that I'm connected to the pistol. It's not moving around, but putting all my brain on just pressing the trigger without moving the gun off the target.
Okay.
And I've seen people try to have a smart idea or try to gain ground on that, and it normally does not work out well. So I'm in that kind of stuff. I'm just get the points. Don't have a penalty. It'll work out okay.
Makes sense. I also feel it's less pronounced in my steel gun, but in my polymer rivals, I feel like when that sear moves and that striker pin lurches forward and hits, you get a little bit of movement with that as well.
It could. Every gun's a little bit different. I have a well, I was shooting an M&P a couple days ago, a 40 caliber one. That was a lively one. But like those M&Ps, a factory gun, I feel like when you press the trigger, even doing it super slow, like surprise break, sometimes the front sights kind of wobble a little bit to the side. And I don't
Right.
know if that's due to the way the weight of the striker spring or how the guns like the mechanics of it are set up, but some guns do
Right.
have a little bit of a movement that they do. Or some guns, for example, SIGs, when they're not exploding, SIG P320s, when you pull the trigger, sometimes the slide will move. And if you just do this, like pinch the slide to the frame and then pull the trigger, the sight won't actually move. Or if you put a magazine in the gun with dummy rounds, when you press the trigger, the sight won't move. But if you do it on an unloaded gun with no magazines, oftentimes, like there's enough movement from the slide to frame that you'll see the dot kind of move or bounce or twitch. Again, it's a little bit gun
Interesting.
specific, but I've seen that a fair amount with SIGs anyway, 320s.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, every gun is just set up a little bit different or has its own little nuances.
Right.
But even like the difference you're talking about between your steel and metal frame gun, there's just little subtleties. Like between the steel and Walther frames, the steel frame's a little bit wider. So I like that because it gives me a little bit more to hang on to. It's got removable grip panels, whereas the polymer gun doesn't. But the polymer gun's lighter. I can draw that gun a little bit faster, a little bit easier to reload. Close shooting, probably prefer the polymer. At far distances, probably prefer the steel. Triggers are pretty comparable. It's all a what if game and kind of what you like the feel of or balance of or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the same stuff you're saying, where I feel like the weight of the gun slows down my transitions and stuff, but I guarantee that if you put a timer to it, there wouldn't be any measurable difference. It just feels like it, you know?
It's like recoil springs. Sometimes I've had guns before where I feel like, seriously, it feels like the gun's recoiling so slow. I mean, you think, man, this has got to be taken at least a half or almost, it feels like a full second or something. But then you look and it's still measured in hundredths of a second. The difference between a 10-pound recoil spring and a 15-pound on a timer or like watching the gun in slow motion, you can't really tell a difference. But your perception or recoil impulse makes it feel one way or the other.
Yeah.
Same thing with bullet weights.
Yep.
That's a trippy one.
Yeah. And I still haven't, 124 is still my favorite. It just feels the best to me.
Yeah.
But I've shot a bunch of 115s and I'm like, it's a little snappy, but it doesn't really seem to make that much of a difference. It's not as comfortable per se, because you do get that quick
Mm-hmm.
snap out of the front of the gun. But I was like, at my level, it's like it doesn't matter. It's not a significant enough difference that it's going to matter between whatever I would normally end up at versus
Yeah. I mean,
124. So
perception is reality. So it's, if you feel like there's a difference with one, it makes sense. I shoot mostly 124 grain, either PMC or Blazer brass. That'd be probably 90% of the ammo I shoot anymore. If it's ammo I'm buying anyway. And the 124s, yeah, are a good balance where they're fairly like soft-ish shootings. I agree. The 115 snap a bit more and they're a bit louder, as dumb as it sounds
yes,
to say.
yeah, I
But
agree.
the noise is also different. And I have a few 9mm cans. So if I want to put it in my MP5 or suppressed pistol, the 124s are a little bit more fun, I suppose. But it's just preference. I used to shoot 147s a lot for production division. At the time, I thought that was the jam because it felt softer, but it's all preference, whatever you get used to. And like I said, you'll make yourself right anyway.
Yeah,
So if
it's
you
all
think there's a
placebo.
difference, you should buy whatever you think is the best.
I want to do more shooting with 135s. I feel like
Yeah, that'd be
here I
fun.
am talking, you know what I mean? Just to see what it's like. I almost feel like, it gives you that medium between the 147 and the 124 should be right about perfect.
I have I don't know, probably still like 20,000 blue bullets in 135. It's like truncated cone or something, and those shot great too. But I couldn't tell a difference between those and 124s. It was also similar.
That's what I'm afraid of. I'm going to be disappointed because it's all going to feel the same.
I just go for whatever I get the best deal on, for being real. Oh, there you go. Let's
Have you
go.
have you used any of that?
No.
That stuff is crazy. I did a 2-hour episode with a literal missile scientist
Okay.
and the CEO of this company. This stuff, it's range ammo. So it looks exactly like a 124 grain bullet,
Yep.
just it's a 50 grain bullet.
Okay.
It's copper jacketed with a polymer core,
Okay.
and it travels 2,300 feet per second.
All right.
The crazy thing is they also make a defense core. Now that's their range bullet. Their 50 grain is their range bullet. Power factors like when we shot it at area 5, I think it was like 112, 113. I've got a video. I'll be posting some of this stuff at some point. But we shot a full-size popper at 25 yards, or Corey Katz did at 25 yards. First shot was at the top of the aiming circle in the full-size popper.
Okay.
Fell right over. Walked down, looked at it, picked it up. Then I'm like, can you impact the bottom of the aiming circle? And he's like, I can. So he was shooting a 2011, I forget what. So then he shot at the bottom of the aiming circle, dropped it right over, no problem. No damage to the popper. The 45 grain defense ammo is like a hollow point. Oop, let me go this way. Now, here's the interesting thing. When I talked to that ballistician, him and one of the professors at Weber State bought this ammo and did a bunch of testing on their own.
Okay.
And what they found was that 45 grain ammunition has a 96% chance of a 1-round stop in a defensive shooting. The SIG hollow point has a 26% chance of a 1-round stop. The range core has an 86% or 84% 1-round stop. And I was like, whoa,
Are
this
they actually
is
testing
wild.
this from live people though, or how do you get that percentage? I wonder.
No. So what they did was, so there's back in the early 2000s, there was a bunch of ballistic testing done, and they realized there was a formula that they came up with that allows them to determine what the percentage is.
Okay.
And it's based on energy transference and a bunch of other things. So basically, the wound ballistic looks exactly like a rifle, but you are transferring the energy so fast, you're only getting like 4 inches or 4 inches of penetration with the hollow point and like 6 inches of penetration with the range core. They shot a pig in the shoulder so that it would hit the bone and not penetrate the pig, and killed it dead. Just because there is so much energy with that 2,300 feet per second that the hydrostatic pressure that went through there, the hydrostatic shock, just obliterated all the organs and dead right there.
Crazy.
It is crazy. He's working on rifle ammo that's doing like 6.5 Creed that's doing like 4,000 feet per second.
Dang.
With limited penetration.
Okay.
And no lead. So it's lead free, crazy ballistics. It's nuts. I didn't know if maybe with some of the people you've trained and worked with that maybe
No
they've seen
experience
it
with
out
that
there.
stuff. Nah, it's normally a lot of
Wow.
like Barnes hollow points for rifle ammo or Spear Gold Dot, or I suppose Hornady stuff. Probably the main stuff. Or if I suppose, of course, Federal Hydroshock, but whatever. Sometimes they trade with like duty ammo. Sometimes they just train with ball ammo. It just depends on the place or what they have the most of.
Right. Yeah, it's not cheap either. It's like 92 cents a round. So it's not cheap. But if all you're using it for is defensive use, then I mean, I don't know how many you're going to. Hopefully, you're not going through too many.
Hey, we got to
That would
shoot
not
some
be
to make
good.
sure your gun works with it, you know?
You do. And that's what I'm finding. The shape, the range core works great in my guns, but the defense core isn't working with all of them. And I think it has to do with the feed ramp angle and the shape of the projectile. So because I compared the two side by side, and the Sim X, the shape of the bullet is so different. It's like taller and wider, and I'm like, interesting. So, but I was
Yeah.
just curious.
Nah, sorry, no experience.
That's okay. I wanted to get into something a little bit on the spicier side.
Oh boy.
Now that you've got another year of teaching and you're getting
Yeah.
out there and you have more interaction with other instructors and groups and different stuff. I have my own personal beliefs as to why, but why do you think there is so much animosity in the instructor world?
It's a lot of egos, honestly. It'd be and insecurity. Probably insecurity, in my opinion, more than egos. There's You could manufacture a reason to say why you are good enough, or why you are credited for, or have the ability to, or are the guy for anything. I'm the best at this shooting test. I've done this thing. I know about this. I've been to this place, whatever. So uh, I oftentimes I'll see guys that don't want to actually, like, my, I suppose you'd call them peers. They don't really want to debate things. You'll see a lot of people will just kind of dig in on a, if somebody wants to debate something, kind of two things will happen. They'll either start just like saying, "Oh, I think we're saying the same thing," trying to find common ground. So they don't really even believe what they're saying. I see that play out quite a bit. Or it'll be just guys wanting to be, I don't know, maybe more just kind of like dig in, or combative about what they do, just because it comes from a place of insecurity. And they sometimes, I think some guys don't even believe what they're saying. They just say what they think they're supposed to say. And the other part I've kind of noticed, that got more into it, there's an amount of instructors that aren't really nerds for shooting, which isn't what I thought originally. I kind of figured everyone that taught classes was like on their days off, they'd go shooting. And I found out not really the case with everyone. For some people, it's just a job. So, and some people, like, speaking for me, like if I'm gone, let's say like last week I was gone for 7 or 8 days. And then I got home like midway through a day. I hung out that evening. The next morning, I went to the range because I wanted to go shoot. And that's often the thing with hang out with a lot of my friends. Like Steger, we taught together for a couple days. We attended a class together we took a class as a student, a Kyle the Four class, for 2 days. Then we got back to his place at maybe 9 o'clock p.m. And then the next morning at 7 a.m., we were heading out to the range to go train. So anyway, the guys I hang out with just like shooting, and I don't know. I don't feel like everyone else shares that same interest, but that's okay. It is what it is. What have you noticed?
So, yes, what I would say is this, because I have noticed, like you, like there are a lot of people out there that now I'm going back to when I was doing it. I can't necessarily speak for today, but in the past, what I noticed was you'd have people doing it that weren't nerds about it, like you said. So while they may enjoy teaching it, they're just regurgitating what they've been told, and so
Mhm.
what they understand. But I also feel that just because you were in the military and you were in certain units and in certain places and did certain things doesn't make you an instructor
Sure.
at all. It doesn't even necessarily make you a good shooter. So, I've been around some of those units and I know, but I feel I also feel like people are going to get training from certain groups that aren't necessarily going to give them what they need. They're just going to those groups or those individuals because of maybe what they did in the military, or they served
Sure.
on this SWAT team over here, and they don't necessarily have a great grasp of shooting.
The same could be said of even guys that win competition, so that win
Yes.
championships or national or world titles. That doesn't necessarily mean you're good at articulating what you can do to someone else in a way that they can understand it and do it. It just means you're really good at the thing or good at performing under pressure, which is cool in itself, but they're kind of two different things. Being able to teach is different from being able to do, but you still need to be able to do at least somewhat higher level, but that depends on your clientele also. Because if you want to teach an intro to pistol type of course, you don't really need to be a GM or a national champion. Or if you want to teach police officers just how to grip their pistols and pass a qual, most red shirts at police ranges, maybe they'd fall into a B class range, and that's plenty good considering the guys that come in and what experience they have and what level they need to get the guys up to. That would be totally fine too. So it all just depends on kind of what your objective is or your target clientele, I suppose.
I actually asked Nils one day. I think we were at SHOT Show. I was like, at some point, do you plan on teaching, like starting your own training company? He said no. I was like,
He did for a
really?
short amount of time, I think. He taught some
He
classes,
he may
right?
have, but he goes, there are better people out there than me. I'm not good at relaying what I do to other people. And I was
Sure.
like, okay, I can appreciate that. And I that's where I was going with that story too, was that just because you are at the top of the world doesn't mean you can. I would even go as far as to say some people at that level can't teach beginners at all because that beginning stuff they have forgotten. It's just so ingrained in what they do that they couldn't take someone from 0 to 50%. They can take them from 50% to 100, but they can't do that foundational training that they need.
Yeah. Sometimes there's too many assumptions made also. People just assume that the students or their clientele know how to do whatever the task is. Like, okay, so you grip your pistol and you do this. Like, wait, hold up. How do you grip the pistol? You know what I
Right.
mean? And I'm not
Yes.
exactly joking because that kind of thing is
No.
it'd be assumed to like how to draw your pistol, how to do a magazine change or draw. But on in some clientele, that's probably not assumed and needs to be explained. Maybe safety needs to be explained. So yeah, it all depends on just kind of meeting people where they are and what the clientele has.
Agree. Yeah, 100%. There are a few of them out there like Ernest Langdon was in the military. He did a bunch of that stuff, but then he also turned around, was the first production national champion. He started his own company and did other stuff.
Yeah.
So there are people out there that do it, but yeah, and I think it leads to a bigger issue where this is where for I've even found it at times I'm like, I don't know if these people are talking out their ass or if they know what they're talking about. So I'm like, if I don't know that, how's Joe Snuffy down the street who knows less than me about it? How is he going to figure this out? And that's the hard part for people too.
Yeah, because if
You
you have
don't
a
know
class,
what you don't know.
you if you say, "Does anybody have any questions?" If everyone's quiet, one person is not going to raise their hand. Like, sorry, how exactly do you draw a pistol, or where does your support hand go? If no one else is asking questions, oftentimes people won't. And then once you start the drill, then they'll ask you individually. That happens too. So it's important to not make assumptions and I suppose being able to read the room a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, people don't want to look like the dunce of the class.
Of
So
course not. Nobody would.
nope. I've been there where I'm like, I'm not asking a question. I'm going to look like an
Sure.
idiot. So I don't. Now, where is the? So that leads into the other one that I was
Oh.
actually happy to hear you say, but it gets a little spicy. It could get a little spicy. Challenge coins and standards. I I am not a fan of that crap either
Good. Why do you not like it?
because I think it's I'll just use the word fake. I don't think it really tells you anything about anybody's ability. I really don't. I think it puts focus on the wrong thing. So I'm not against it if people want to do it. okay, I'm not gonna say anything, but I just don't feel it's a proper way to measure somebody, if that makes
Well,
sense.
I'm sure people could figure this out, but I've attended a class before as a student where the whole class was basically getting you prepared to earn this patch or challenge coin. And so the class revolves around that test, which would be okay. But then let's say the back half of the second day is all people one on one testing for this. It's a bunch of time wasted. And maybe call me a little bit delusional, but for me, the premise of taking a class is because you want to get better. So for people that come to me, there's a couple expectations. I'm being honest. You need to be able to draw your pistol, holster, clear malfunctions, and load it safely without supervision. Otherwise, I just wouldn't be the person for you to start off with. And you also need to be able to move around kind of in a USPSA sense, just safely. I don't care if you're fast, but just safely while keeping your gun pointed downrange. If you can do that stuff, then I'm happy to have you in a class. If you kind of need one on one attention for loading and unloading, I'm probably not the guy just because there'd be people better suited for doing that. So, anyway, I just operate as long as you can operate your pistol safely, keep it pointed downrange. That's all I ask. So if you take a class, I'm just going to meet you where you're at, and the expectations change based on the person in the class. So higher level people might have more kind of minutia or nuanced stuff. Entry level people may have broader topics. Either way, I work on the assumption people come to me to take a class because they want to get better. They're not already great. Also, expectations. 2 days of class. I commonly say in class, the purpose of a class, what's going to happen is your habits are going to be exposed to you. So people have a way they draw the pistol, the way they think about gripping the pistol, target transitions, vision, all that stuff. You have, like David, you have a way you do things. It might be good, it might be bad. We don't know. After a couple days, you are
We'll
going to
find
have
out.
some observations and takeaways for stuff you probably don't like about yourself. Well, we'll just say shooting stuff you don't like about yourself. So you'll want to work on those things. Now, if we just work together for a day and a half and you have all these observations of things you are trying to change, and in the moment, when you think about nothing else, just that one thing, you can maybe make the change. Then we move on to the next element, marksmanship piece, movement, aspect, concept, whatever. The old thing, whatever we're working on, is going to go back to the way it was because you can only think about one thing. Instead, your attention is going to go on the new thing that we're trying to change or the behavior I want you to pay attention to. So, after doing that for, let's say, a day and a half, why would I test you trying to have you perform at your very best where I've just exposed a bunch of things that you probably want to change about your shooting? You are super tired, probably hot. Most people aren't used to shooting, let's say 1,000 or 1,500 rounds in 2 days. Your hands are tired. Why would that be the time to test you for something that's probably going to be really tough to get on a normal day where you're rested and trained?
Yeah, I don't disagree. I was I took an NRA rifle instructor class in 1994, right before I got out. And it was like a 4-day class. It was like all week. But the thing I did like about it was on Friday, they didn't tell us ahead of time, but they were Friday morning, they were having us do weak sighted shooting with
Okay.
a bolt gun. I'm like, okay, this is easy. I've done this before. So we're shooting. And they're like, okay, now what we're going to do is everybody gets one shot at a bullseye at, I forget, I think we were 300 yards or whatever.
Okay.
So easy distance. So, I shoot, we, I'll say weak sighted because it's not just a weak hand.
Sure.
And, and I was second and it was like measurable, but come to find out, me and one other guy are the only ones who shot it weak sighted because we didn't hear them say, oh, for this competition against everybody, you can shoot regular and the winner gets a belt buckle. So, but what I liked about it was it nothing that we did specifically was for, we're going to run this set of drills and whoever, your aggregate has to be less than this time and it's all of these different things. It was just one thing. Friday morning starting off, let's see how you do. Just one shot. Okay. And again, it wasn't like we spent the whole week focusing on that, getting ready for that one drill. You know, it was just kind of thrown in at the end when we didn't know, well, okay, cool, this is fun. That I like. But I think, and I guess the reason why I call it fake is, like you said, it's kind of like you focus on that and not what you're there to do, which is improve your shooting ability.
In my opinion, a class is teaching people how to practice or how to teach people how to fish. So, yeah, of course, you drills and exercises, some probably new drills people haven't seen before. What's happening is you're exposing their deficiencies to them, showing them a different way to do the techniques, and hopefully they're paying attention. They could recreate the drills at home. They'll know how to do if they did it right or wrong, or if the target looks a little bit dirty or the target's patterning a specific way, they will know what's causing that and how to fix it. That's the point. And to me, that's the point of a class.
Yeah.
So the other part with like the challenge coin thing is I've seen people repeat take classes, which is of course good for the instructor, but it'd be the same thing with the same jokes, the same everything. So it's just on repeat as the first time. But obviously it's good because the instructor gets paid for a second class, but people show up to that just to take the patch standard fidget spinner kind of test, which
Right.
I mean, people are going to do what they're going to do, but I try to save people from themselves if I can. So I don't like that. I would see that as people being taken advantage of, honestly. I mean, obviously people are doing it on their own, but I don't love that.
Right. I mean, I think I get the idea of it. You know, you're giving people something to work toward, but I just don't. I think people focus too much on that and not the other stuff that they're there for. You know.
Yeah. And
Um,
even doing tests like that, if you let's say it was anybody's patch or standard. Let's say you set that up in your practice every day for or every time you go to the range for the next couple months, trying to get just better at that one patch or standard. There's a whole plethora of shooting abilities that you're probably not working on. So it's not really
right.
the best for your long term development. However, the good part of those, if you set it up, let's say you go to the range, you set up 2 or 3 times back to back, just shoot it 2 or 3 times in kind of observation mode, and you just come away with some conclusions. Bro, I suck. Once the target's over 15 yards, there's serious problems. Up close, I'm not picking a spot. I'm having trigger freeze. I struggled with this aspect of it. Then you could work on your training in a separate drill or exercise just to work on that one piece that you're not happy with. That's a helpful way, and that's I think a good way to direct your energy. But not everyone does that. Most people, we're all pretty what is it? What's the accountant line? So I think a narrow focus and a tough time abandoning tasks. So a little bit of artistic, shall we say? So then it's easy to get fixated on just doing that one shooting test.
Yeah. Agree. I think the bill drill is fun, but it's not something
Sure.
you're meant to do all day long. It's like, look, do it once at the beginning, once at the end, work on other stuff in the middle.
Well, and there was a bill drill challenge at nationals, what, a couple years, and there were
Yeah.
like some guys that really got heavily fixated on that, where that's all they practice because they want to do well at that challenge, and maybe they're good at everything else in shooting too. But I wouldn't want to just whether you win it or not. I wouldn't want to just like rely all my training or focus all my training on just one drill.
Right. Yeah. It is neat that I do enjoy that competition though, to see which of, just how fast these guys are. Like, who would win in an actual shootout? well,
Sure.
well, now we know Isaac Lockwood and Billy Barton. Everybody else is dead.
Sure,
So,
but it's also hate to sound funny. It's also extremely unsafe. I intentionally do not measure draws to first shot in class because those guys I'm not so worried about. But for people that don't practice and then they get a little bit juiced up, and it's an easy way to start sending them into the dirt right by your feet or just when they get outside the holster. So,
yeah.
and especially you get unlimited tries with that. So for every $5 you get an entry or whatever the thing was. I hate to be funny, but that stuff always makes me a little bit nervous. I would be standing back for people doing that just because accidents can't happen, especially when you're rushing, draw to first shot, and you're getting, sounds like some of those under a second or so.
Okay. Do you, in dry fire, do you ever check to see what like your first shot to whatever open target is at any distance, or no?
I don't operate off times much in dry fire. Instead, I like kind of focusing on the technique or the aspect and keep trying to chip it away and just make it a little bit better. So there's not really a perfect score. For the example of what you're doing, I wouldn't even press the trigger. It would just be draw a sight picture and doing it at different distances, a very small target, and then trying to rush to be as fast as I can be. But while I'm trying to be fast, I'm still trying to finesse the gun, not shove the gun to target. So when it stops, it bounces. So working with that kind of more principle based than kind of just an outcome focus, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're working on index versus time. So yeah, I get it.
The principle of what I'm trying to accomplish. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We got to talk Hollow Sun for a minute
Okay.
because you put out that Hollow Sun video
Yeah.
and you said you noticed there was a little bit of parallax on the Hollow Sun that's on your carbine. I don't remember
The
which
aim,
one,
the EMS. Yeah.
but my question was, do you think there's enough parallax in there to even matter at the distances you're shooting with the carbine?
Absolutely not. But it's just me being
Okay, that's
autistic.
what I thought.
You're a
Right.
you're a rifle guy. So if you set it on a rest or whatever, I've got it sitting on a bench. If you either want to shake your head or nod your head, if you see the dot moving around a little bit on target, obviously that's parallax. So no, it'd be if I'm shooting a 5 shot group at 50 meters with my rifle, I would like to have all 5 shots inside the paster. I think that's acceptable, or a 1 inch, more or less group at 50 yards. Most rifles can do that, but yeah, like I said, head positioning can adjust that just a little bit. It's not a big deal. They came up with a second model, so it's AIMS. It's AEMS is the model, but second, or I think they call it a Pro, which has a little bit different coding, which it does have less parallax. But no, it's just me being autistic. For most people's practical use, it's not an issue.
Well, I think that's an honest review too, though, saying it does have some, but that's where I was like, I started thinking about that. I was like, is that really enough distance to matter? So yeah, you're echoing what I was thinking.
No, I try to be transparent about that stuff. If I get something for free, sometimes I'll forget, but I try to make sure it's like, hey, I didn't pay for this, but my opinion really isn't for sale. So I'll just sometimes people send me stuff, and I'll just kind of talk about my experiences or what I like or dislike or what I think was which was different. But and some of the stuff is very nuanced that it doesn't really matter to most people. But I just if it's something that I think is important, I'm like, hey, you might want to know this.
It's interesting you said your opinion's not for sale because I obviously had to listen to the Kenny Florian one
Yeah.
episode of Practical Shooting Live. And it was interesting to hear when you asked him, how do you pick sponsors?
Hmm.
So very interesting because I'm also like, I had someone offer to sponsor the podcast and I hemmed and hawed and I didn't, and I don't think I offended him, but at the same time, I don't want to feel like I have to not be honest about something.
Sure.
And it may not even be his product. It could be another product that maybe I like as well. I'm not saying it's better, but maybe it's just as good. I don't want to be forced into a corner where I can't publicly say, "Oh yeah, here's another good one." You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
I
that's
completely agree.
that's a tough one.
I've had a couple opportunities from different. One was like a firearms manufacturer, where they offered to have me shoot their guns. Well, the hope was exclusively. I'd get a discount
Mm,
code, so if people wanted to buy that, they'd get to save a little bit money, and then I'd more or less have unlimited of them. So if I want 4 or 5, whatever practice training, I'd have plenty of them. I could give them as loaners, whatever. So and an item that's I don't know over $1,500 a piece. So it's a nice upper end, I suppose, item. But I was very flattered, and I just said that's not something I'm looking for. And I've had a couple of those deals. If they want to send me one, I'd love to review it or talk about it, take it to class, let people shoot it. But I wouldn't accept anything if there was expectations, even expectations to make a video. I'd be like, nah, okay. Uh, well, I guess I'm showing my hand a little bit. I've been talking to the guys at Nighthawk. Well, the guy that runs social media for Nighthawk is he likes what we're doing. He's super nice. I've chatted with him a bit. They're sending me a pistol, so it'll be a 2011 that I'll have. Their guns are longer to produce. I think they're like a 12 or 24 month wait at some point. But I'll be getting one of their double stack 2011s, and it's like a $6,000 pistol, 6 or 7. That'll be mine to keep. I can throw it away, give it away. I can talk nice about it. I can talk mean about it. There's no expectations, which I'm not going to be unkind, but I'll just shoot the gun and talk about what my experience with it is. And if there's an issue, I'll talk about that. Or if there's no issues, I'll talk about that. I'll shoot different ammo. I'll probably end up loaning it out in class. I said that was something I might do. He said that was totally fine. And so it'll be cool. Like, I'm flattered to have it and excited to have it, but I'm not obligated to them at all. And if I don't like the pistol, there's no hard feelings.
Yeah, but from a marketing standpoint, it's a great idea, because if he sends that to you and you take it around to all these different classes and just let people shoot it, well, that's more exposure than the gun would normally get.
But if the gun sucks, maybe that's not a good thing.
But if at the same time, if they're a good company, they'll take that feedback, they'll fix it, and then, and I think that drives sales as much as anything. When people are like, that company listened and they made changes, I like that. So
another example, ADM, so American Defense, they make really nice AR-15s. Well, they offered to send Ben and I both rifles. Like, okay, cool. Like, I've got AR-15s, but I'll give it a try. And I did not realize how much nicer, or how well it's gassed, how much softer shooting it would be, or pleasant, compared to my other guns. No idea. And then that just became my go-to, because it was something I didn't, you don't know what you don't know until you try it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like, I have people shoot that. I mean, government places, open classes, whatever. Guys, like, holy crap, this thing's awesome. Like, yeah, I didn't know either until I shot one. So you're right. It's good marketing. And so I'm honored companies would want to send me stuff to try, but on my end, there's never any obligations. I wouldn't, if there was, like, that I have to say nice things or have them watch the video or prove something before I post it, I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that either.
Your integrity for that stuff's a little bit priceless.
Yeah, 100%. What in the world was I just about to? I'm always recommending that to people that I know that, want to get into shooting or are shooting and different stuff. Like, I there's some family friends in particular,
okay,
that shoot a bunch. They do a bunch of defensive type stuff, and they'll go and they'll shoot airsoft and travel and do these major airsoft battles. I don't know what the hell they're called, but I'm like, look, dude, you need to go shoot some competition, because you really need to stress you and your guns and your ability. Now, for you, you've done the competition, you're doing the teaching. Do you find that you still want to put yourself in that position at times, to put yourself in that competition mode, to where you're testing your own ability against others of like skill?
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun. I say it's down part, but I suppose it's good. There's, like, I think currently I had the last weekend free, and that was the first weekend I'd had free for, I think, 8 or 9 weekends. Like, I had a class or something going on every weekend, which I'm very appreciative for. So
Right.
Being busy, which again, I'm very appreciative for, has made me less available to shoot matches. But if it's a weekend that I'm home and I don't have family stuff going on or anything, yeah, I still shoot, because it's a fun way to test your skills. I have a lot of friends that I see at matches. So yeah, I think it's something still, it's good for my, like, growth and development also, because I want to get better still at shooting. I'm okay at shooting, but I could get a lot better still. So I like training myself on my days off or going to matches, all that kind of stuff. In classes, shooting in front of people, doing demos is good. So just trying to get better at shooting.
I'm trying to see if I've missed any of my questions here, and I don't think I did. I think I've got everything that I've got a long list over here on this screen.
You're
But
prepared.
I think I went through it all. Oh no, I did miss one. Oh, I know why, because it was supposed to be moved down to the bottom and I didn't move it. when we talked last year, you said you were happy that I was doing the USPSA like area director candidate stuff
Mhm.
because you didn't have to.
Yeah,
Did you listen to any of the stuff this year?
some
Okay.
a little bit. It was I don't know. It's tough because you never really get to know the person. It's the
I know. And then none of them were in your area. So it didn't even really pertain to you.
correct,
I
but
was
no,
just
I'm still somewhat interested, obviously, in the board and how that stuff's going. But I don't know. Oh, I think it's a bit disappointing how things have overall turned out for leadership in USPSA, but hopefully it can get saved or turned around.
yeah, I agree.
What were
Yeah,
your
I had retired from doing those, but then I was like, someone reached out. It was Billy Harrington. He's like, "Hey, do you mind if I come on and we talk about this stuff?" I'm like, "Sure, let's go ahead." I said, "But if I say yes to you, then I don't want to be biased." So I was like, "I need to reach out to the other three," which I did, and said, "Look, you guys can do it too." But I think I'm going to keep doing that because the debate is so much more difficult to coordinate. So I probably won't be doing any more debates, but I think I'm just going to do the one-on-one stuff.
That makes sense.
You
And you don't have to share your numbers, but for me, there's probably about a third of the listeners listen to USPSA specific stuff or housekeeping stuff compared to at least my audience is just interested in shooting, but anything
right,
specific to USPSA always has a
reduce
significantly
numbers.
less amount of listens. Yeah. It's because I've kind of I'm interested in practical shooting with whatever that means you use guns for. So a more diverse crowd of professionals with guns, and then guys just interested in being fast and accurate, not necessarily a USPSA theme. Which I'm not. USPSA is a great way to test your skills, and I like USPSA, but not all my listeners are always down for that.
Have you done any PCSL?
I haven't. I wanted to do well. Some industry friends had a squad at PCSL Nationals this year that I was
Mm.
going to go to. I wanted to because I'd have a spot already, but I already had a class scheduled that weekend, so I
Oh,
could not. I know, which that's like all this humble brag. I'm very appreciative for. Like I'm currently booking out to June, July, like August of next year. So
goodness.
yeah, so I mean it's tough because I keep on like my calendar or my kind of events calendar, whenever matches or nationals are released, I put all those things on my calendar because sometimes a class organizer will want to do a class like, hey, just so you know, that's IPSC nationals. Like, yet nobody here cares. We're good to go. Or they might be, oh crap, I didn't realize that. Let's pick a different weekend. It could be either situation. But so
Right.
I do try to avoid carryover with major matches, but sometimes the clientele just doesn't, it's not a big thing to them. They don't care. But anyway,
Okay.
that happened to be a weekend that I was booked. Otherwise, I would enjoy PCSL. Rifle shooting is super fun.
Well, and I think it's like right up your alley. It's pistol and it's rifle.
Yeah,
There's no shotgun. That's the one thing about three gun. That's why I wouldn't be interested in three gun. When I was at PCSL Nats in last December, man, it made me want to shoot. I wasn't in a position where I could do any shooting at the time, but it looked way more enticing than three gun.
sure.
It
Yeah, I mean,
was
nobody really wants to shoot a shotgun, but shooting a carbine and a pistol is a little bit more fun. And I like that Max has the like the MOA. I think it's like requirements or minimums for targets. So it sounds like you could use a red dot and magnifier for a lot of that stuff, or an LPVO if you want. So it's not that the targets are so small or so far away that it'd be like a little questionnaire. It would be, do you want to win or place? Be like, well, yes. Like, okay, if you do, then it has to be an LPVO or something like that. So
right.
anyway, I think
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah, I think the farthest target was 160 yards. I mean, that's not super far. So, and it was full size steel, so
Yeah,
it wasn't a small target either.
very nice,
Well, that's everything I had, Joel. Was
dude. Nice.
there anything did we miss anything?
I don't know, not that I could think about. I don't know. I think this was good. We talked the right amount of crazy. Hopefully, made some people irritated. Give some people something to think about for training. I don't know. I was thinking about what words I could
Yeah.
put in your mouth that you'd be like, no, no. Be like, David said he really wanted to irritate some people today, so that was why we were trying to talk crazy. You're too
Yeah, we
nice.
didn't even come close to getting crazy.
Nah,
It's all good stuff. Well, if you're ever in Virginia and you want your stuff recorded, let me know. I'll bring my cameras and drones, and
that sounds
we'll get some
fantastic.
cool stuff.
Oh, very cool. Well, I appreciate you having me on, though. This is always fun. And it's nice because you do
Thanks
all
for
the
coming
hard
on.
work. This way I don't have to do anything. I just sit here and kind of space out and ramble, and then you do all the production stuff.
And then I flashed weird ammunition on the screen. You're like, what?
Oh, well, it's interesting. Something I haven't seen before.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, thanks for coming on, and hopefully we can do it before we another 15 months.
Sounds good. It's a date.